Good afternoon to all of you. Today we are going to learn about the taxonomy or classification of projects. As we know, as I have already discussed you before also, the projects can be classified in many ways. Number one is national and international projects. Number two, industrial and non-industrial projects. Number three, projects classified according to the level of technology. Number four, project classified according to purpose, such as replacement, maintenance, expansion, diversification. Now, we will know what is national projects or international projects. International projects are projects set up by large industrial houses or government undertakings in other countries. Just as Indian companies invite the collaborations from foreign companies to set up plants. In the same way, Indian companies extend their entrepreneurial skill outside the country's borders to set up plants in the host country. It is the case of Indian companies operating as multinational companies in other countries. A number of large industrial houses have set up manufacturing plants in other countries. As for example, the Tata Group set up in the Republic of Singapore to produce precision tools. Not only the large industrial houses in the private sector, but even public sector undertakings have actively collaborated either with government or local entrepreneurs in those countries, either in setting up production units or infrastructural facilities like building, railways, airports, in order to participate in international projects. One has to look for suitable opportunities. The international fairs and exhibitions provide opportunities for industries for undertakings international projects. Setting up projects in another country requires much greater effort in that the entrepreneurs has to understand the conditions in that country and evaluate the prospects more carefully. The risk associated with international projects are much higher and of a different nature. Is that clear to all of you? Next one is industrial or non-industrial projects. The national projects can be classified into industrial and non-industrial projects. Healthcare projects like eradication of malaria, tuberculosis, etc. Educational projects like adult education are example of non-industrial projects. Apart from these, irrigation projects, agricultural development, soil conservation projects, etc. are also treated as non-industrial projects. In the case of non-industrial projects, the benefits are not easy to quantify. In India, the investment in non-industrial projects, that is irrigation, health, education, etc. are made by the central government and state governments. Allocations are made in the annual budgets and development plans are included in the 5-year plans. Next one is project based on level of technology. Industrial projects can be classified on the basis of level of technology, that is into high technology, conventional technology projects and low technological projects. Space projects, nuclear projects and sophisticated electronic projects are examples of high technology projects. These projects involve very huge investments. In India, all space projects are administered by the Department of Space and nuclear projects administered by Department of Atomic Energy. Now, the traditional or conventional technology projects are those which use common technology in the process industry, such as steel, chemicals, cements, etc. Most of the projects which are produced for use in other industry or the final projects which are used directly by people come from these conventional technologies. Investment in projects that use the traditional technologies are sizable, though not very huge. There are several other projects of daily use which do not require very high technology. Soap, detergent, cosmetics, etc. belong to low technological projects. Investment required for such projects are not very high. Several products which are reserved for the scale industry belong to low technological type. Now, technology based project based on size. Projects based on size are classified as large, medium, and small. The size may be expressed in terms of plant capacity and the amount of investment. Project with a capacity investment of less than 5 crores or 5 crores are regarded as small scale industries, and projects requiring an investment of more than 200 crores are treated as large scale industry. All those falling in between these two limits are considered as medium scale industry, while large and medium sized projects are eligible to receive financial assistance from all India financial institutions. Small scale projects are given financial assistance by state financial corporations, like in obtaining their raw materials and equipment, etc. Now, project based on ownership. Project based on ownership can be classified in public, private, and joint sector projects. After independence, the government industrial projects government industrial okay, sorry, excuse me. That is, projects based on ownership can be classified into public, private, and joint sectors projects. After independence, the government industrial projects, first enunciated in 1948 and later revised in 1956, has given a prominent place for public sector in the country's economic development. A public sector undertaking is one which is owned by the state. Under the government policy, the railways come under the public sector, followed by airlines. Later, the former Empirical Bank of India came under the public sector and became State Bank of India. This was soon followed by the nationalization of life insurance business, leading to the formation of the Life Insurance Corporation of India. The first major projects to come under the public sector are 3 steel projects at Rourkela, Bhilai, and Durgapur in the late 50s. The government allowed the Tata TISCO, that is Tata Iron and Steel Company Limited, and the Indian Iron and Steel Company Limited, that is ISCO, to remain under the private sector. In the subsequent years, the public sector was expanded to many areas of economic activity: road, transportation, power generation, petroleum refining and distribution, shipbuilding, aircraft manufacturing, heavy engineering, heavy electrical equipments, and so on. At one stage, even daily bread manufacture was in the public sector. Initially, the considered for setting up projects under public sector was that private sector is not in a position to raise the necessary resources required for investment in huge and massive projects like the steel industry, heavy engineering, heavy electrical equipment, shipbuilding, aircraft manufacturing, etc. Another considered was that all investment in basic industries like steel, cement, coal, power, etc. must be only in public sector. The public sector was to attain commanding heights to the Indian economy. Several thousand crores of rupees have been invested in public sector projects. The performance of public sector undertakings by and large has been far from satisfactory, while the returns from investment of many of these undertakings are very low. There are many with large accumulated losses. Public sector undertakings can be divided into central government undertakings and the state government undertakings. Central government undertakings, like their cousin in central government undertakings, are no better. State government undertakings by and large have become notorious for inefficiency, mismanagement, and low productivity. Undertakings in which the state and private entrepreneurs are partners are called joint sector industry undertakings. The main consideration for investment in joint sector project is desired on the part of the state to utilize the managerial talent and marketing capabilities of the private entrepreneurs. From the entrepreneur's point of view, the joint sector is attractive because he does not have to make all the contributions for his investment. In private sector industries, the ownership is completely in the hand of promoters and investors, while the private profit motive is not the primary consideration of public sector undertakings. It is an important consideration in private sector projects. No entrepreneur would like to invest on a project which does not give him adequate return. There has been several restrictions on the private sector investments on projects until recently. Private sector is prohibited from making any investment in projects in certain areas of production such as steel, coal, power, etc. However, the trend has been changed since 1991. The government removed all several restrictions. Many industries which comes under the public sector units now open to private sector for making investment. Now, project based on purpose. The purpose for setting up projects may be one of the following, that is modernization project facilities, replacement or substantial part of production facilities, expanding the production capabilities of one or more existing products, or diversifying into new areas of production or services. Now, the modernization, it is a project to replace previous manufacturing process or technology with a more modern production process or technology to active higher productivity. Plant set up several years ago required modernization for several reasons. First, the plant has outlived its utility, leading to higher maintenance expenditure just to keep the plant functioning. As a result, the operating cost increases and the production may cease to be cost effective. Second, the production or process technology keeps changing and improving. To remain competitive and productive at the reasonable price, the company cannot afford to continue with obsolete technology. Thus, modernization becomes inevitable for any firm to take advantage of the new technology or process, new inputs, materials, production methods, etc. A recent example is the Tisco's modernization project under a few years ago. The modernization may allow improvement to the product by adding some new features. The main consideration, however, for undertaking modernization project is to continue in the business and compete effectively. Replacement projects are projects to replace one. A project to replace one or more of the equipment or a part of the plant, either because they have become unserviceable or because of high cost of maintaining them. So replacement maintenance projects are similar to modernization projects, but their scope and magnitude is relatively small compared with the latter. While modernization project usually covers the entire projects, replacement projects covers only a part of the plant. For example, in an electrical power generating plant, the replacement of a turbine is a typical type of replacement projects. Replacement or major equipments in a plant become necessary when the equipment suffers from obsolescence. The consideration for undertaking replacement project is the desire to maintain the same or better level of operational efficiency. Maintenance projects slightly differ from replacement projects. When certain equipments are subjected to major overhaul lasting several weeks, there will be some loss of production, but the overhaul of equipment is essential, otherwise the equipment may break down or cause more serious damage. Such major overhaul are treated as maintenance projects because they involve several activities requiring coordination between different departments and peoples, procurement and use of materials and equipment, etc. An outstanding example of maintenance project is the relining of blast furnace in an integrated steel plant. The lifting inside the furnace consisting of ceramic bricks which can withstand high temperature have to be replaced every few years and a new set of ceramic bricks laid inside the furnace. This relining work takes a few months and requires the effort of several departments: general maintenance, electrical maintenance, mechanical maintenance, piping, etc. The entire work has to be have to be coordinated and organized similar to a project. The application to the project management tools and techniques to blast relining has reduced the total time for relining work, thereby reducing substantially the downtime of blast furnace. Both replacement and maintenance project must be undertaken to maintain production at acceptable efficiency. Expansion projects, it is a project to expand the present capacity of the plant. The company may seek to enlarge its plant capacity with a view to produce a large volume of its current product range. Project undertaking with its aim are considered as expansion projects. An important consideration for undertaking expansion projects is the intention of the firm to meet an anticipated growth in demand for the product or to increase its market share for the product. Expansion projects can be of different types. For example, a foundry producing iron and steel casting may expand by setting up a machine shop and structural shop. The machine structural shop use the iron and steel casting produced in a foundry. This is one type of expansion. A firm which depends on electric powers to a large extent, as in the case of aluminum manufacture, may choose to set up a captive power plant for assured supply for electric power. When external sources of power supply become unreliable or inadequate. Thus, we can say that where a plant seeks to set up facilities for producing products or services which constitute the critical inputs for its products are also considered as expansion projects. In these cases, the main consideration for undertaking the expansion project is to assure the supply of critical inputs. Diversification projects. It is the extension of current operations into related fields or into altogether new fields. A company may seek profitable investment opportunities in altogether new areas. When it undertakes a project to enter into a new area, it is called a diversification project. In 1960s, the tobacco giant Indian Tobacco Company Limited (ITC) entered the hotel business, a new area which is totally unrelated to its traditional business of tobacco manufacture. In US, General Motors, the auto giant, entered the information service industry. We have a similar example of our country, Telco. The truck manufacturer company has entered in the information product industry. The product turbo analyst, a case, that is case means computer aided software engineering tools produced by the information products division of Telco, is marked both in India and abroad. Recently, another truck manufacturing unit, Ashok Leyland, has entered the business of power generation. It is currently engaged in setting up a 1,000 megawatt power project at Visakhapatnam. There are number of examples to show that companies have diversified from their traditional field. Brook Bond India Limited, traditionally in the business of producing and marketing teas and coffees, have entered the business of food processing. The major consideration of diversifying is to spread its investment sources and risk and increase its revenues from the different areas where investment have been made. Each of the above types of projects have a specific purpose and appropriate considerations for making investment on these projects. Is that clear? If you do not understand, then please put your comment in the message box so that I can understand.